Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at watching this. This is Katie Z here with the 12th installment of the PegNet Weekly Update. I'm here joined with the Paul Snow and the Stephen Maisley. You guys want to say hi?
Hello. Yeah, hey guys.
Hey there. All right. So with this weekly update, we have a treat because we've got two of the core developers with us. So the focus for this week will be a little bit more on that, which I think nobody's going to push back on. So Paul or Stephen, do you want to take it away with some of the updates of what you guys have been working on in the last week or weeks here?
Well, sure. I mean, first of all, we're going to be adding a few more assets. There was some holes in the fiats, and the fiats work fairly well in the PegNet because they're relatively stable against each other, and so conversions between them is relatively straightforward and without a lot of market risk or currency risk. So there were a few like the Australian dollar and whatnot that weren't in our original list. So we're going to add those. And then we've talked to some of the other communities, and there's been some requests for supporting BAT and a few other high volume cryptocurrencies, just a small number of those. And so we're going to go ahead and add those. So basically, we're going to work through the process of adding assets. This is something that we in the community need to work through and get a feel for how that's going to look and act in the future, because the PegNet is intended to grow as demand for the assets grows.
So interesting. With the adding of these assets, what does the time frame look like? What's involved in getting those listed? Is this all covered, or are we looking for additional development help? Or
well, we can always use development help, and we're calling out to the developers that are interested to build infrastructure for the PegNet to please get involved. For people that are interested in how we're discussing improvements and how we are communicating and working through all these changes, join the community. There's a PegNet improvement protocol, PIPs, and there's channels where we talk about PIPs and the Pegonomics and so forth. Get involved and help us think through these things. The PegNet is a very, very unique and different platform, and it does take effort to truly understand it. So.
Yeah, I can chime in as far as the timelines too. We have a few features we've been batching together because they're all going to be hard forks. So it's always better to launch those together than as individuals and require a lot of different updates. So the code implementation is actually already complete for additional currencies, the ERC20 gateway things, and then we have some other small changes. But I think we're waiting for the last few features requested by the community before we go ahead, make a release, and then choose a release date.
excellent. And the protocol, just to remind everybody, and I'm sure you guys can speak a little bit more to this, for adding any kind of fiat asset in particular, or perhaps I'd suppose all of them, right there, there has to be in existence at least two large public APIs for getting that price data. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. For most of the new assets, though, if it's just international currencies or cryptocurrencies, a lot of the data sources we already use support those. So like adding these new currencies was pretty trivial since they already had many redundant data sources that we already had implemented. So, but yes, you're right. If there's any new asset to be added, we need at least two data sources that support that asset and report the pricing for our miners to use as oracles.
Very cool. And speaking of mining, the mining activity has been pretty steady on an upward trend consistently. The network is really robust, and charging forward. There's a lot of activity on that front. Hey, David Johnston, how are you?
Doing all right. Just here in beautiful St. Moritz, Switzerland, jumping out of the conference.
Very cool, very cool. So I've got Paul and Stephen here with us on this webinar right now, the weekly update. And we were just talking about the new edition of the Australian dollar and a couple of cryptocurrency assets as well getting added to the system.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah, David, so how is it over in St. Moritz? What's the DeFi conversation like over there?
It's definitely a hot topic, and a lot of people are talking about stablecoins and the intersection of DeFi and sort of where that leads. So from my perspective, that's been a wonderful topic to bring up, especially in the context of Switzerland. You know, everybody's abuzz about Libra or the challenges of Libra or whether it will materialize. And so, you know, I've been having a lot of fun talking about the alternatives in the form of PegNet.
Yeah, given our relationship, yeah, I've been privy to seeing that you've been quite busy meeting with a number of different media journalists and reporters over there, looking to pick your brain and gather your insights. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you know, the message I think is resonating. You know, there's so many challenges with reserve-based stablecoins that having an alternative is really powerful, and people are open to that. Something that respects individual right to hold their own private keys and not have to trust a central custodian, I think is something really powerful. So they really get that here.
I'd imagine so. I mean, Switzerland has long been known for their leadership in finance and wealth management. So let's see, David, do you have any other insights that you'd like to bring or additions to this weekly update with the PegNet system?
Oh, I'm certainly excited about adding more fiat currencies. You know, there's a very active crypto community in Australia, and certainly we've got crypto friends in New Zealand. So I think having those will be great additions. There's also some cryptos that are getting added that I think folks like institutional investors are very favorable towards something like Tezos. And so I think having that on the system and letting people get economic exposure to that is really useful, especially for this audience here in Switzerland, where it's family offices and investors and institutions that is sort of tracking those trends. So yeah, I think this is a great improvement and really sort of puts us at the heart of what's going on.
Excellent. So then from what I've gathered so far, we've got, in terms of the crypto assets being added to the PegNet system, is the BAT token, basic attention token, and Tezos. Are there others that are confirmed?
Yeah,
I think Stephen probably has the list.
Yeah, I have the list. I have the tickers in front of me. I don't actually know. So I know we've for cryptocurrencies we have EOS, Chainlink. What's Atom? Let's see. I forget what the
Cosmos.
Cosmos. Yep. And then Tezos. And I put the list. Tezos and BAT. That's for the cryptocurrencies. For the international currencies, I don't know, David. I'll send you the ticker list if you could say this corresponding.
Yeah, I mean, for the international currencies, I believe it adds Turkish lira, Russian ruble, the Brazilian, or rather the New Zealand dollar, like we talked about, as well as the Australian dollar, the Swedish krona, and also the Norwegian krona. So a lot of these are in the top 10, top 15 currencies. I think Australia is number 5 by volume. So these are definitely some good gaps for us to close. And, you know, if you were a fiat, you know, trader or hedge fund, you know, having all the major currencies, I think is a big advantage.
Yeah. So how do the developers decide upon the tokens that get added into the system?
Well, this is basically a response to the PegNet improvement proposal a while back which formalized that we would look at tokens for potential candidates in PegNet if they had more than $100 million in market cap and more than $5 million in daily trading volume. Now, there are different data sources, and so depending if you look at CoinMarketCap or CoinCap.io, they have sort of different views on what the real volume numbers are. And so all of these candidates that are being proposed are comfortably above those requirements, right? All the fiats, of course, are very deep in their trading volumes, but so is EOS, and so is Tezos, and these other options. So seems like they're comfortable. There are other candidates that technically meet the requirement, but maybe they fall under the requirement for volume sometimes, and some of the APIs say they actually have less volume than they need. So there are other potential candidates in the future, but it's sort of like, let's see them grow, let's see liquidity grow, and then we can consider them in a future update or proposal.
Very cool. And I think this is awesome to talk about. I mean, this all came about from the PegNet improvement proposals, which each week we're talking about and having people, include their ideas and into that. There's a link that will be here on the bottom of each of these videos. If you're interested in watching this to get involved, you can check out and include your ideas. We'd love to hear them. That's for sure.
Awesome. And did you guys cover any of the other proposals or PIPs that are out there?
Oh, hold on, Paul, you're on mute here. It's on mute. There we go.
Cool. Well, I just wanted to add that I thought there's a good proposal in the community about increasing the arbitrage so that we can get closer reference prices to exchange prices. So, I know that's being discussed and refined right now, and some code is getting put together. So I think that kind of improvement is going to be important. We've seen peg dollars get back to over $1 just recently. But I think everybody in the community wants to see those type of gaps get filled faster. So I'm definitely excited to see sort of the best ideas about how to do that arbitrage. So that's probably something we can cover more next week, but something coming up.
Yeah, and Paul, sorry, you were on mute before. I don't know if you had something to add to that.
All I was going to say is to call on people to get involved in the community and go to the PIPS channel and talk about the various ideas to improve the PegNet system, and talk about these proposals and others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't have anything else here on my short list to cover on these weekly updates. If anyone else has some final thoughts that they want to add, speak now. Forever hold your peace.
No, good stuff. Good progress. Thanks for everybody's hard work. Thanks, Katie.
Yeah, and we want to encourage everyone to get involved. If you want to start a meetup in your area, reach out to us on the Discord. We can participate remotely. If you happen to be within a geographical area that somebody's at, they may be able to show up and do a presentation. There's a lot of people involved in the PegNet, and a lot of people that have really studied it and are talking about where it's going, and your meetup can harvest some of that information and start distributing it. The more we spread the word, the better the system is.
I'm a huge proponent of grassroots and word of mouth. I don't know many who would argue with it either in terms of being just effective, right? So yeah, if you are watching this, you're a little bit uncertain if you want to host a meetup or you would like to go to one, but worried about maybe not having the resources to pull it off, please get in touch with myself or any one of us here on Discord, and we'll be sure to get you everything that you need so that you can be successful and have a great event of it.
Absolutely.
All right. Great stuff. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.